Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Divine Uche and I do a lot of social commentary and video essays over whatever I feel like talking about that week. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Before I move on, let's address the elephant in the room, guys. I know you've been staring at it like, it's my hair. Like, okay, when I first got this style, I saw it on Pinterest and I was like, this is so cute. It's so me. But I'm kind of worried that it's going to look weird. But I low key think it came out cute. I like it. I like it. Let me know if y'all like it. Leave a little comment, girl. Your hair is cute. Growing up, I used to watch a lot of TV shows, as most kids probably did. PBS, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. Used to watch a lot of shows. And in a lot of those shows, especially shows made for kids, they'll show a lot of, values like making sure you're being respectful, sharing is caring, being kind, and just overall being like a generally good human being and like a functioning member of society. A lot of these principles that run rampant in a lot of our TV shows are a direct result of our governmental system, which is a democracy. Probably heard of a democratic form of government, but you might not know what exactly it is. And I'm here to tell you. A democracy is a system of government in which laws, policies, leadership, and major undertakings of a state or other political systems are directly or indirectly decided by the people. We live in a democracy if the people have the power. The people get to vote on who they want in office. The people get to vote on different political parties. People get to start parties and run for office and represent the will of the people. It's all about, what the people want, the people who live in the country. Many different types of democracies. And the democracies that we see a lot of today, or governments that have some type of democracy, have only been around for about 200 years. So democracies are, as we present them today, are actually a fairly new governmental system. Most of the world was not democratic. And democracies are great. Everyone loves, feeling like they have a say and feeling like they get to vote on something. It's a good time. Where democracy was derived from is a lot of times credited to Greece and Rome. A lot of the people who could vote back then were free males, or the ones that had the political power. As to now, we see that nearly all members of a country are allowed to vote and have some form of representation in the process. And in this regard, democracy has come a long way from what it used to be before and is ever evolving. After the Cold War that was fought between the two superpowers that emerged victorious after World War II, the US and Russia. The US and its allies were for democracy and people being able to vote for what it is that they wanted. Capitalism, people being able to own what they own and be able to trade on an international scale, while the Russia, also known back then as the USSR, and its allies were highly focused on communism and the government and people who were in power having control of a lot of the resources and equitably or equally sharing them. So these two superpowers and its allies fought, not directly but indirectly, and in the end, democracy and capitalism emerged victorious. So we see a lot of the free world begin to adapt to these and gain these democratic and capitalist systems, being able to trade with each other, electing people. A poll taken in 2017 actually said that 57% of the free world, of free nations, had some form of democracy. And that was almost taken 10 years ago. 2017 was almost 10 years ago. Feel old. Feel old. Yeah. And now, like, democracy seems to be on this like upward trajectory. Soon everyone will be able to vote who they want. We be able to trade how we want. When we get complacent like this, when we think that democracy is just going to be there like running water, we fail to see that democracy needs upkeep. We need to constantly be making sure that our democratic values are still at the forefront of our government, that these values that we see in these kids shows, like sharing and making sure that everyone has access to certain materials and things are equitable, these things still need to be at the forefront of our minds and at the forefront of our government, or else we are sure to see ruin. Democracy has fallen before. Democracy is a government system based on the Republic of the Roman Empire, which has fallen and has went from a republic to being an empire ruled by an emperor. The people who came up with the idea for democracies, the founding fathers of the U.S., a lot of other scholars from different areas of Western civilization, studied Rome and studied these other areas of where democracy fell to be able to adapt democracy to survive as long as it did. We can look at the Roman Empire to see an example of when democracies don't upkeep and make sure that their values are at the forefront, democracies fall. You guys remember that trend of like, oh, boys are always thinking of like the Roman Empire, da 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 da. I always thought that was like ridiculous. Like, okay, I love history, so it's not like ridiculous that you would think of the Roman Empire, but like the Roman Empire is at like the forefront of your mind every day. I was like, what? But then I woke up one morning, I came out of my room, and I found my brother watching like this 3-season documentary on the Roman Empire just out of the blue. And like this is why like stuff like Arcane, like if y'all haven't watched Arcane on Netflix, go get into that. Like good shows were out. Sorry guys. You know, people are yeah. Okay. Enough sidebar, let's get into it. The Roman Empire was an empire that had its center in the province of Rome. The Roman Empire was a system of government kind of like ours, where it had different structures of different levels. We had Senate, we had elected officials who were able to give power to the people, and make sure that things were being taken care of in a way that was equal and balanced. The Roman Republic would constantly amend and would constantly shift whenever things would happen to make sure that their values, a lot of the values that we take today, were still at the forefront of their government. That, you know, things like making sure people had political freedoms, making sure that instabilities were taken care of, just general government dysfunction was being avoided by paying attention at the general upkeep of the nation. Now, the Roman Empire was large. And as the Roman Empire is spreading and people are experiencing massive amount of, you know, wealth and prosperity, the republic as it is began to become neglectful. People began to see their country on an upsurge and forget about the general upkeep of the republic to make sure these values stayed at the forefront. So now when political violence or government instability came into the nation, there wasn't as strong a pushback against it. Dysfunction and instability began to take root, and people began to experience a lot of unfair treatment and a lot of punishing of their political freedoms. We can't talk about the fall of Roman's Republic without talking about Augustus Caesar. Augustus Caesar saw all the instability that was going on, and he saw how the people were fed up of unequal wealth distribution, land theft, and just general corruption and dysfunction that had become synonymous with the Republic of Rome. And he took advantage of that. And he was able to amass power by promising to fix these systems. People began to trade in their political freedoms in order to place their faith in Augustus Caesar. And Augustus Caesar became the first emperor of Rome. Now, there's a lot of takeaways that we can look at from the story of the Roman Empire and the fall of their republic, and how if we don't fix our democratic systems and we don't do general upkeep to our democracy, we are in for some of the same things. Democracy can fail. Democracy has failed before, and if we're not careful, democracy will fail again. There's a quote that I saw when I was researching this video. There was an article that I looked at from the Democratic group, and Platos was talked about a lot in that article. Platos was a scholar, a philosopher of Greece, and he actually opposed democracy a lot in its entirety. I'll read you a quote. Platos called democracy a multicolored cloak, full of many hues. He also said that if you had to choose among the different types of regimes, monarchy, aristocracy, oligarchy, or democracy, you'd always choose democracy because it's lovely to live in one. No one really bosses you around. Different ideas are always circulating. Equality permeates the entire culture. Democracies are great in theory. They sound great on paper, and when first put into place, they feel great. People can become the definers of their wealth. People can build wealth, and there's great social mobility, or how fast you can, go up the socioeconomic system. People can go from not having much money to now being billionaires. It seems like it happens every day in democracies. But with democracies and with all this diverse culture and diverse thinking also comes opposing thinking. And there's nothing wrong with people having opposing views, but if we're not careful, Opposing views in a democracy can become polarizing and almost hateful, and that hate and polarization can turn into intolerance. Let's say that you like going to the mall and I love going to parks. I just love the nature and how beautiful parks are, and you like to shop. There's nothing wrong with me liking to go to a park and you liking to shop. It's a free country. You can shop and I can go to a park as much as we please. But when this simple difference turns into disdain, it goes from I like parks better than malls to I like parks and I can't stand anyone who goes to a mall because I think malls are disgusting and I think they're a waste of space and a waste of time. Democracy gives people the platform to be able to run for office and take these simple polarizing ideas and turn them into different legislations that target other people. When ideas in a democracy are not checked, yes, democracies can be diverse with their ideas and their viewpoints, but they can also become really chaotic really fast. Democracies are run on greed. Democracies are run on whatever the people want, who want certain ideas come into office. They can run on that and be able to put their ideas and make them law and make them the foundations of a country. And while that is great, it also becomes really dangerous when certain people get into power and use their power for corrupt reasons. As I was talking about, democracy can breed chaos. And from chaos rises dictatorship and tyranny. Popular tyrants can only arise from democracies. Now, when you hear that at first, it might be like, what? Like, how do we get from democracy to dictatorship? But actually, all dictatorships in history, such as Hitler and Mussolini, all popular, powerful dictators, actually arose from democracies. And we looked at Augustus Caesar and how he was able to seize power and make people trade their political freedoms for better stability. And it just shows that when democracies become so chaotic, so out of control, people can seize power. And people don't seize power. Powerful tyrants aren't able to seize power unless the people are willing to give it up. And when things become so bad, people are willing to do just that. Usually they are elite class members or people who are better off in the democratic system, people who have money or people who came from money. But they hold disdain for people in their wealth class and actually blame a lot of the problems of the democracy on people who are rich when they are able to rise to power. The democracies don't breed tyrants unless people are willing to back and give their support to them. A wealthy person blaming people who are wealthy for creating a lot of the economic and the social problems that are happening in that country. Excuse me. They appeal to the people's living situations. Maybe prices are really high, or maybe there's a lot of corruption going on and things like that, so they appeal to the people's situation. They can make the situation better in return for political freedoms and political powers. For people who are, living in countries that are doing better, it might seem like a foreign thought. Like, I would never give my political freedom away just because someone promises that they can make prices lower and things like that. But when countries get so bad, when ideas become so polarizing, when wealth inequality becomes so widespread, it happens. And really, it's not that far a future. We have to pay so much attention to our political system. Democracies are fragile. Democracies are ruled from the people, and human will, human emotion, human greed is both our rise and our fall. We have to be so careful in upkeeping our democracy and making sure that we are holding these values that we see as important at the forefront. Okay, so I like to end every video with the what can you do? Because as I said in my last video, I don't like when people come up with ideas and just be like, okay, there you go, the world is ending. Have a burger or something. I like to tell you what it is you can do. How can you be a functioning member of society? Sidebar, but not really a sidebar. I watched this really great show on Netflix. No, it was not on Netflix. It was on Apple TV. I watched this great show on Apple TV called The Foundation, and I think it came out with a new season, which I'm going to watch if it did. But it's a great show. And in the show, there's this professor, And this professor is a professor of psychohistory. Basically, he uses history to be able to predict the future by looking at patterns of human behavior. And it's so interesting because history really is like telling the future. When we look back at like Augustus Caesar, and we can look at some of the signs of what happened in the Roman Republic to be able to predict what might happen to some democracies today. It's so interesting, and really, history allows us to see the signs and see things that are to come before they happen. Democracies can fall, but democracies don't have to. This way, to be able to ensure that we still have civilization, that we still have futures in which people can be able to have a say in government, is to support your democratic systems. Make sure that you're voting, make sure that you are using those democratic freedoms, because when you feel like your voice doesn't matter, you give up political power for the people who are willing and ready to seize it. On top of which, make sure that we're being kind and respectful to other people. As we talked about before, these democracies become bad when situations and ideas become polarized, when people are on two opposite sides and refuse to agree, find compromise, or even tolerate each other. Make sure that we're being tolerable. Even if someone has an idea that you don't personally agree with and you just cannot stand or see why they would think like that, it's not to wish that person harm, but to seek to understand. And even if you don't like that person after, to still tolerate them. Because when we become intolerable towards each other and we support the violence that happens towards people, we set up our democracies to fail, and we set up ideas to become so harsh towards each other that they breed violence, and it's a horrible thing. My back has been hurt for some reason. I don't know what is going on. Yeah. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was an interesting topic for me to cover. If you guys like the video, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and make sure that you like this video. Let me know if there's any other topics you guys want me to cover or anything else that you guys want me to see. And I hope that you guys have a great day.